What is up, everybody? It is, the 31st of March already, which is insane to me, right? This year's coming by so fast. This means it's the last day of the first quarter. And of course, I just want to kind of talk. And, one thing I'd like to do is do more of these recordings. I like to share this more often, get more guests. We will get at least one or two guests a week, but just to kind of do just a quick briefing of what we're seeing in the market. I did one yesterday with Joe Nuska, who works on my team. We talked about things that, changed as we know we're kind of in this turmoil, right, as a nation and of course geopolitically, but it was affecting interest rates and a lot of hype was surrounding what was going on with interest rates rising, and will they likely improve? And so, of course, or were they to improve or get worse? And a lot of the media was like, oh my goodness, we're going to hear interest rates from the Fed are going to raise, which means there's a concern for inflation, which in turn means that there's a concern for what is going on with basic needs like mortgage-backed securities, mortgages, pre-approval. Affordability then goes out the window again because we have homes that are still appreciating. And then we have, interest rates are going up, which actually hurts affordability, obviously, right? So keep in mind when we share things like that, the idea is understand that the Fed rate does not have a direct correlation to mortgage interest rates. What does is inflation. Inflation is essentially the arch enemy to mortgage interest rates. So again, we're looking at this and we're understanding that the media is loud again. We talked about that yesterday. Clickbait causes anger, frustration, people looking at the market, seeing what's going on. And there's an overall reaching concern of what's happening with rates in the market that we have. Now you have that. Now, the second thing to consider is a lot of it is driven by headlines. Headlines drive a lot these days, not actual true statistics or numbers that we're seeing in the markets themselves, right? So things that we look at, like the JOLTS jobs data came out today. It wasn't a great report, right? So we're seeing further improvement today. We saw consumer sentiment last Friday come out, which shifted the idea of, oh my gosh, the Fed's going to raise rates rather than the Fed will probably stay where they're at. And it's more than likely that later this year they may even decrease that Fed rate to help the concern of, or to help curb the concern of a looming recession, right? So essentially, bad news in the market, especially as it pertains to things that could be unemployment numbers and things like that would mean good news for interest rates. Inflation, however, if you see inflation going up, which is bad, you'll see interest rates, of course, rise as well, including the bond market, because, of course, you're looking at mortgage-backed securities, which is a bond. And, of course, the 10-year treasury is close. We usually say, or had said for years, probably the closest thing you could look at if you can't actually watch mortgage-backed securities charts or follow a coupon of a mortgage-backed security throughout the day. A lot of technical stuff. So to just make it more elementary, there's a couple things here that, I'm kind of really keen on saying now is understanding that the media is loud again. Rates are moving, but not the way that the headlines are seeing it. Sentiment has dropped, but bonds improved, which caused rates to ease. So that's not chaos. That's the market doing its job. Most people are reacting to noise. However, what I would consider the smart ones are watching the data. And this is the kind of window that people miss because they're waiting for certainty. Now, there is no certainty. Keep in mind, if you want to buy at the bottom of a market, you're never really going to buy at the bottom of a market. If you want to buy at the top of a market, I mean, it's hard to say they're buying at the top of the market, right? Because nothing moves in a straight line. So if you're looking to purchase, really, I would share with you, there's no certainty. There isn't any. There's just timing. And so if you want to real read on what things are going on, I send a weekly digest out. I'm going to do more of these podcasts to talk about the market. However, if you're on the fence whether or not you're going to purchase a property, candidly, may be probably one of the better times to do it, right? And so that's what we're saying. Now, there's reports that came out saying that there's nearly 50% more sellers than buyers. That sounds bearish, but here's the catch. Buyers are people actively touring homes and requesting showings. Sellers are active listings. This is not mortgage applications. This is not pre-approved buyers, and this is not off-market demand. So just because someone isn't touring a home doesn't mean they're not in the market. A lot of buyers are just sitting on the sidelines, again, waiting for interest rates. So we are finding applications still coming in. I am a producing branch manager. I'm a loan originator. I run my branch here in Southern California and oversee Northern and Southern California, right? So I'm seeing still applications pour in. As we're seeing that, that of course is something very simple. That is called demand. Now, this time of year, we tend to get more supply. It's really interesting to see how these numbers lock up because you have supply and demand. Now, if you have an increased demand, of course, supply then shrinks. As the supply shrinks, you then see appreciation. Now, if there's an oversupply, you tend to see demand shrink in a lot of cases, meaning less applications. We're still seeing consistent applications. So it depends on the market. Now, we have 50 states in this great country, right? In California, what we're seeing in a lot of markets is still appreciation. We're still seeing multiple offers. There's a 2-unit condo in San Francisco that clients of mine are making an offer on. And apparently there's going to be 7 or 8 other offers. A property that we just got into escrow over the weekend in Vallejo, California. There was 5 other offers on that property. We happen to win that. Why? Because we're writing short escrow still. We're still doing a 12 or 14-day close. Now, a lot of people may say, okay, applications had gone up because we had the California Dream for All program. That was a program that through Cal HFA was going to offer 20% down for up to 150,000 for those that were a first-time home buyer, generationally as well as a first-time home buyer, as they classify it. And that would fit the income requirements and credit requirements for that particular program. However, it shared appreciation. During that time, I kid you not, we had 47 people apply for that particular program. So we had a lot of applications come in. A lot of those were past clients that I've already been talking to over the last couple of years. However, we also still have new applications coming in. People don't count those numbers in this number. So as they're getting started to start actively look for homes, because a home had piqued their interest, perhaps they're looking on Zillow or Redfin or one of those entities, now they're stepping out into the market saying, okay, I want to purchase a property. So what I'd share with that, and this is a good thought, count the real number here, right? So when we look at that, even look at the JOLTS job data, look at the breakdowns, new unemployment filed, new job offerings, the quit rate, right? Which means someone's getting another position. These things are truly the numbers to watch in these particular reports. It's not just a headline number that you're going to see, and of course, the media push out. So what I'd share with you is we're seeing multiple offers on properties again. What does that mean? Well, interest rates may have gone a little higher in the last couple of weeks. And I jokingly say it's like when you're at 7%, you're playing red light. And then when you get back to the lower six or let's say even high 5% range, which we just saw, it's definitely a green light. So remember as a child in kindergarten, you're playing red light, green light. That's what we're seeing in the market right now. So what's important is if you're a buyer, if you're on the sidelines, at least find out what you qualify for. Find out what is your maximum pre-approval. Great to know. What more interested in, or we are more interested in, pardon, is looking at what do you actually approve for? What do you want to spend? What's your budget look like? We don't want to put anybody back on this undergrad years or younger years who are living on top ramen and ready packs of salad. We want you to live and invest wisely. So we want to build something that would actually cater towards that, that would actually show you true numbers. So what you're seeing is multiple offers. You're seeing strong demand on good properties, and you're seeing application volume rising. And what we're telling our clients, again, the same thing, get started. And I would share that with you. If you want to get started with us, of course, there's a link below in the comments section or visit my website. It takes maybe 5 minutes to complete an application. We'd be glad to give you this digesting, go over these numbers and things with you, right? This is not one thing to remember. This is not just one housing market right now. It's two. Market one, price right, good condition, good location. Market two is overpriced, poor condition, weird location, right? Those tend to sitting still. You tend to see those price cuts. And then that's when you start to see inventory is up, but quality inventory is tight, right? So that's a big thing to remember. Inventory is up, but quality of inventory is tight. So let's look at this. We're looking at the Fed rates and of course what we're seeing with, your macroeconomics, right? So these are things to look at. So we're looking past the oil driven inflation and, concerns about the economic slowdown, right? That's kind of what Powell's doing right now. Now, John Williams, is policies well positioned. There's no urgency to hike. That's his position. Dovish voices are talking about potential rate cuts this year. So the translation of this is the Fed is starting to shift from fighting inflation to protecting the economy. So as we mentioned that, we're seeing, of course, these things that play into that role with the Fed, job openings, weaker. We had a hiring rate, which is the lowest that we've had since 2011, excluding the COVID time. The quits rate is down, that means people going from one job to the next, there's less confidence there. So the labor market is cooling slowly but clearly. And as I alluded to earlier, those are things to watch. Now, keep in mind, you also have housing data, right? Prices are still rising year over year. FHFA, again, same report, modest appreciation continues. So we're not looking at a depreciating market. So housing hasn't rolled over. It's just slowest rate of growth, which is what we tend to see in markets such as this one. Now, keep in mind, we're stepping into second quarter, as I mentioned at the start of this, no longer first quarter. So you tend to see slower growth throughout the winter months. Why? I've said it for years, 24 years of doing this. Nobody likes to move a Christmas tree. You tend to slow down during the holidays. Then you tend to see people sort of pick it back up again as we head into the spring and summer buying season. So again, this is one thing that I'm wanting to share with you as we kind of close out for the day is why data doesn't really meet up with experience. There's three reasons. We have lagging data. Most reports are 1 to 2 months behind, and you're seeing today's activity pick that up. By the time you read the headline, the market's already moved, right? So we know that. That's why I said earlier on, you never really truly buy at the bottom of the market. You can buy close to it, or at the top, it kind of moves in between. Nothing moves in a straight line. So national stats versus California realty. That's a big one to remember. You look at markets like Texas, you look at Ohio, look at Tennessee, you look at Arizona, you look at Florida. Well, a lot of people are moving to Florida, so maybe not on there, right? But compare them to one another, perhaps, right? California, right? Orange County in the Bay Area. It's not any of those markets. Those markets are very different. And what you have to look at is the economic approach to the geographical location. What's the demand look like? What's the housing demand look like? That's what's really going to shift things. So remember, demand is compressed. It's not gone. Buyers paused due to rates, perhaps in some markets, but now they're also re-engaging in some markets selectively. In some markets, there are multiple offers on the property. So it's not that demand disappeared. It just got picky, right? So what's this mean for buyers and agents? You'll still see competition on good homes. I just gave two examples right now, and several of the applications and contracts that we just ratified within the last week and a half, they were still competitive. So you still need a pre-approval, you still need a clean offer. Speed is still good, right? Speed, if you're closing letters, we're writing this one in San Francisco's condo. We're saying we can close in 12 days, which we can. The client's fully underwritten. So the deals are still there, but so is the competition. So I'd share for agents out there, don't rely on the headlines. Watch showings, offer activity, days on market. Your MLS is more accurate than CNBC, CNN, or Fox News right now, guaranteed. So here's the bottom line. Data says one thing, real life says another. The truth is in the middle. So remember this. This isn't a crashing market. It's a selective one. So what are you going to do to stay on top of this market? That's up to you, right? So what I'd share with you is any questions on any of this data, let me know. I'm certainly here. Have yourself an amazing day.